Let's look again at the chaos in our schools. An OECD report has found student discipline is a major problem in Australian schools, contributing to an exodus of teachers. Educator Kevin Donnelly told us last night it all comes down to respect.
When I or you went to school some years ago, teachers were authority figures. And that was something where we were taught as children by our parents to respect teachers. Unfortunately, that hasn't been happening.
Now, new figures out today show just how bad this problem is. Assaults in New South Wales state schools are up 50% over the past decade. Incredibly, police are called to schools 10 times a day on average across the state. No doubt this trend is happening across the nation too. Let's bring in child and adolescent psychologist Clare Rowe. Good to talk to you again, Clare. Does this surprise you that this level of violence and disturbance is happening in our schools so regularly? You have to call into I was at school for a long while. I don't recall police ever being called.
Yeah, I think police were called nearly 2,000 times last year to New South Wales schools alone. So it's pretty shocking, Chris. It's unfortunately not surprising to me. I think, Kevin Donnelly was right on the mark last night, but I would suggest, I know that the Education Minister is going to do a review into disciplinary measures, and I would encourage Purukar to start looking also at primary school and even preschool before we even hit high school. This has been coming for a long time. I work closely with teachers each day with disruptive children, with defiant children, and trying to assist them. And whenever I put in what I think many of your viewers will think are pretty common sense strategies, maybe some negative kind of consequences to behaviour, let's remove them from their friends, let's keep them in at lunchtime, teachers turn around kind of exasperated, telling me we're not allowed to do it. The Education Department tells them they can only do positive reinforcement. It's a big problem for teachers who are crying out for more tools available to them to discipline kids.
There's your problem right there. So forget about this just being a problem to tackle in high school. Get in early and set the parameters.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And even, as I said, even in preschool, teachers are telling us they're really restricted in what they can and can't do. And so as a child psychologist that specialises in behaviour and knowing kind of how to elicit kind of certain behaviours in another human being, I suppose, 101 of behavioural psychology, even psychologists are at a loss to know what to suggest. So, and it's not the teachers themselves that are advocating for this. I mean, I feel really sorry for them. That it has to come from the top down. So they have to look at primary school. They have to, of course, then go into high school. I know that there's a review at the moment of how many suspensions they can give a child. There's a limit to 3. I'm not a big fan of suspensions anyway, Chris, because I think most of these children who are disengaged with schooling, they actually don't want to be at school, so they're giving them a holiday anyway. I'd actually rather see teachers have available to them other tools to use while keeping the children at school to use to try and curb behaviour. But Kevin Donnelly was absolutely right. I think it's to do with also a little bit of a movement towards kind of teachers becoming this facilitator of learning, and it puts them on much more of an even playing field with children. And I think, we need to return to those days, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, of the teacher at the front behind the desk as a authority figure and an instructor of learning.
And just quickly, parental involvement. Surely parents have got a role in this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't get kind of, punch-ups and police called and blame it all on teachers. I think, there has been a change and a shift in parental attitudes. I think back in the day, well, not that long ago, when I was at school, I'd come home and my parents would certainly believe a teacher's report about me over me. But I think these days there are a lot of parents when, kids have come home and after being told off by a teacher, and we'd think, oh, well, let's go up and talk to the teacher about it. And they'll take the child's side first.
No, that's wrong move. Thanks so much for joining us, Clare. I appreciate it.